Welcome to Global Insiders Podcast. I am Ryan, the peripatetic one, bringing you information about opportunities relating to jobs, traveling, and any information that can elevate you to your rightful place in this thing called life. You can find more information and how-to methods on globalinsidersgroup.com. That is insiders with an S. And here is today's show. Welcome, insiders. I really hope you're all doing well because, based on the circumstances of everything that is happening, it is all we can hope and pray for these days. Today we have Oliver. Although we didn't expect him back so early, we have our own economist. So of course we have to get him on to speak about what is happening in the world today and give us a clearer picture of the things that we are seeing. So continue doing what you are doing, which I think might be you're sitting in a couch or something, and enjoy the show. Welcome, Oliver.
Hi, Ryan. Yes, thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Yes. Pretty much sooner than we had thought that we'd be speaking, but of course, everything has changed since the last time.
Indeed.
Yes, the last time we spoke, we actually were talking about Brexit, Hong Kong, and impeachment as being major world events.
Yes.
But now, I think we really have a major world event.
Yes, for sure.
Of course, we have you on the show to give us some clarity.
Globalization in full flight, right?
Yes, globalization in full effect. So, yeah. I mean, we won't even beat around the bush with it. Let's just go into it. So, coronavirus, COVID-19 is here. What is happening globally, economically?
Well, it's a lot. I will say that. But to sum it up, I think what's really happening economically is that I think each government, each state, and also globally, there's a decision to be made. The situation that's happening with COVID-19 suggests that the way in which you contain it is by implementing good social distancing measures. It's kind of obvious that the only way you do that is if you keep everyone in a confined space, i.e. home, unless absolutely necessary for that not to be the case. So basically, we've tracked to the world of virtual working, virtual partying, virtual shopping in a lot of cases, virtual schooling. But the flip side of that is that it also suggests that the decision that has to be made there is for us to slow down economic activity in the affected states. And we've seen this in various degrees, right? So in some instances, you have the government of some countries, from a timing standpoint, waiting until they're impacted for them to make a decision on this. There's some school of thought who thinks that's linked to the idea of bandwidth, i.e. having the capital to be able to deal with the health crisis. In other instances, we've seen governments proactively making a decision early on to say, instead of waiting until we're severely impacted, we're going to take the decision to implement some more stringent policies around border controls and the movement of individuals within the country. So I think that's the conundrum, really. The conundrum is I want to stem the health crisis, but how can I straddle this with the economic impact that it will have, that will occur as a result of the reduction in economic activity. And in some states they go, okay, you know what? Let me accept the economic impact from early on, because if I delay and then the health crisis manifests itself, then I'm still going to end up with an economic impact at the back end in any case.
Yes. So So it's a double-edged sword, basically. What do you think the approach should be?
It's difficult. One of the most profound things that I've heard over the past 3 months, and it's been 3 months, but it does feel much longer than that. But one of the more profound things I've heard is that we will not get a vaccination for this for the next year and a half. At the time when I heard it, year to year and a half, and it was shocking to me because the actual toll that this has. So we're not even speaking about the human side of it, which is the real impact, really, but the toll that this has on our society globally, from a standpoint of its impact on our medical services, the healthcare workers, the death tolls, the number of persons infected, the impact on our corporations, on jobs, on people's livelihood, your ability to pay your mortgage and so forth, severe. So when told that it will take a year to year and a half to solve for this, given the capital, the economic capital that exists across all of the various states affected globally, it just kind of tells you the magnitude of the issue, right? That if we're going to throw money at it, and if a lot of the companies who have these type of expertise will pivot to either help find a cure, but also find the medical or supply the medical equipment required to ensure that we contain or we remediate any I guess challenges that we come across. It speaks volumes. So I'm not sure if there's a silver bullet here. I'm in favor though of containment. I'm in favor of where it makes sense to I guess dare I say lock down certain aspects of the economy in order for us to be able to contain this. But if it's the challenge is if we continue in that mode for too long, it will have an impact on people's livelihood. But fundamentally, it's a human aspect of it that has to trump anything. No pun intended there.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, I'm getting from you that there's no soft landing with this one. It's definitely a hard landing.
It's just something that we have to deal with.
Okay.
And the little appreciation I have for it, and I say little because by no means, shape or form, I'm a chemist or have anything to do with the medical profession, but the little appreciation I have for what's going on here is that the real solution is a vaccine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so too. I really do. Is there a bounce back date? I mean, I know it's a difficult question, but if you could try.
So I think I don't think so. I mean, what the next interesting side of this is that in Europe and in the Americas, we've benefited. If I can say it that way, we've benefited from not being first, i.e., this manifested itself in Asia, and when we accepted the fact that this was a major crisis, I think Asia was 2 to 3 months, coming up to 2 to 3 months through that process already. And what we've seen in March, very recently, is that within Asia, in some instances, we've had reports that containment has worked, and we're using a multi-stage approach to getting people back to work and allowing them to resume some semblance of normality. But there are reports that has resulted in a surge in infections. So it's difficult because, again, containment can work, but in the absence of having a medical solution for this, then you effectively stand the chance of getting back to the scenario that you were in previously. And if you think about it from the psychological standpoint, being in confinement, it's not my view that humans are meant to be in this level of confinement in any case. So to the idea that you're confined within a space for an extensive period, and then you are now allowed to go out and interact, you're going to try to do so in the manner in which you used to, right? So you're going to want to congregate at pubs, restaurants, and in the workplace. You go back to the mall and so forth. So I can understand why you would have a sudden surge in infections again.
Yes.
So I don't think there's a softener, a way to bounce back. I just think that we're in a scenario where this is a critical medical health crisis, and we just have to deal with it. It's a non-financial event, as opposed to what happened in 2008 with the financial crisis. So it's two different things, and but the way in which it's affecting the economy and the markets, in a way, it is similar. But again, in 2008, we did not stop economic activity.
Yes.
We were able to deal with the financial crisis in flight. But that's the key issue here. The key issue here is that a lot of these companies, every company depends on a revenue stream in order to pay its obligations and to fulfill its responsibilities to its stakeholders. And at the moment, that's not happening in the way in which it usually does, and that's where the issue lies.
Yes, I mean, are you a big believer, acceptor of a universal income?
No.
Okay, me too.
No,
I'm not.
Hand
Yeah.
down. No.
Yes.
I do believe that each state is responsible and should be held accountable for taking care of the less fortunate. However, we decide what that the definition of that term, universal income. No.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I think it stops on productivity and creativity. If you,
of course, yeah.
As we are seeing right now with even this situation where people have to be home, and I mean, a lot of persons previously are, they would be saying, they need more time off and so forth. But a lot of persons are realizing what it is really like to be home, away from colleagues, and to be in a situation where you're not socializing, because socialization is a huge part of human activity, and over the years we have taken it for granted because we were able to do it at a level that no human being or human beings in the history of the earth were able to do. Were able to socialize. If you wanted to fly to any continent, you could have done it fairly easily, and we had our different groups that we could be a part of. But now we are isolated, as you said. It's not, and it's not really how we were created to.
But I also feel like there's another side to this. Well, there are many other sides to this, but one thing that comes across my mind is that we are fortunate because we are going through this at a time when the technological advances has allowed us to stay in touch with everyone, even though we're going through this, right? So this part of the discussions I'm having is that firms like Zoom, those video conferencing capabilities, those guys are the huge winners in this space, because at the end of the day, to your point, we're human beings. We want to interact, we want to socialize, we want to collaborate, and now the technology allows us to do that in the virtual realms. So in some ways, not too bad. I think the next side of it is, so for those of us who have families close by, we are getting to spend a lot of quality time with our families in a way in which we never used to. For myself personally, I usually travel minimum 50% of my time for work on a monthly basis, and now I get the opportunity to work from home for an extended period where I get to spend a bit more time with my family. It's invaluable because I haven't been able to spend this level of quality time in the past, and And in a way, I guess the part of my realism is that in a lot of what I used to do before, that I used to think is mandatory, I have to do this, and if I don't do this, then it doesn't. I'm not. It's the feel good factor doesn't flow. I'm suddenly realizing that it's not necessarily important as well. So I think this also presents us with an opportunity for us just to do a personal audit to look at how did we get here, how do we get through the situation, and then what does the new world look like, the new economy beyond that. And I think that theme in itself is effectively the way in which I'm presuming that most, even from a corporate standpoint, corporations would be looking at it, right?
Yes.
Because I remember in January when I was listening to the different reading through the different transcripts from the earnings calls from most of the bigger corporations and so forth. The ones that were performing well, they were performing really well, and even up to the first week in February, some analysts were saying like, oh, this is a huge bull market. Even though last year they were saying we're in late cycle, but it's going well and it will continue to go. And then within 2 to 3 weeks, that changed, right?
Yes.
So, and the point is, it changed. The economic activity has slowed down, so it's having an impact on these corporations. So there's genuinely a question how they are around survival. I don't think the majority of the companies a lot of them now are thinking about growth. They're thinking about how do we get through this from a tactical standpoint. And then they're also revisiting plans for the future, because the 2020 playbook, I think we can scratch that out now and rewrite it, right?
Definitely.
So
2020 is right in the book.
Yeah, exactly. It's self-written at the moment. But yes. I do think coming out of this, the huge optimist that I am, there's a lot of opportunities that will exist as we exit this scenario. So part of our efforts has to be spent getting through the scenario, but then we also have to siphon off some time to think about what the world looks like, or try to figure out some scenarios around what the world looks like as we get through this. Because
let me tickle your brain right there.
Yes.
I know you have to go be on the clock soon, but what does that world look like to you?
It's difficult to say. I mean, it's the thing is, as much as it's 3 months, it's very early stages still. I think we're still at the very front end of this. I know, I'm thinking about it again from an economic standpoint, the companies who are impacted in this, where they haven't reported as yet. We have no indication of how severe this is, and I'm speaking about maybe one side of the coin. The other side of it is, a lot of these companies have made use of the low interest rate environment that's existed for the past decade or so. So a lot of them have taken on a lot of debt over the past 10 years. They're highly leveraged. So they're heavily reliant on the income in order to cover their debt obligations. So there's so many things, right? So and all of this can be put under the umbrella of uncertainty. We're very uncertain at the moment. So until I think we won't know. It's still early days. Need a couple more months just to see how this seeps through. And I think mid-year we get a better picture from an economic standpoint of how things will set, because in mid-year, that's when a lot of the companies will come in. Between now and mid-year, companies will report. And I think it's also dependent on how much longer we have to endure the lockdown. How much longer does it take to the health services to contain the virus in the countries affected.
Okay, excellent. I like that, because we were scheduled to maybe talk, I think, mid-year going into early fall thereabout.
Yes.
But so we'll definitely be in touch with you during the summer, sometime during the summer, because
Indeed,
as you said,
indeed.
the playbook has been scratched, as you said, and we are working it too. We're not falling down, and I really love the optimistic spin put on this whole thing. So just before you go, just one more thing. How is the book? How is the book coming along? Because we know the insiders, they want to be educated financially and I plan to do this. So how is that looking?
Yes, it's progressing well. And just to recap this for the audience, uh, the book is very much around my journey towards becoming financially literate. Um, when I assess where I am now and the journey that I've been on to get here, the crux of it, or the foundational aspect of it, for me has always been my avid interest in the financial markets. And I think that's stretching it. As a matter of fact, I was always interested in business. Whether or not I would have ended up in the financial markets was a misnomer. I never had a clue. But it's my avid interest in business related subjects that has driven me. And then along that journey, I think I came along around the right time when the technological revolution occurred as well. So in a way, I've combined both in my current facet. So I get to explore both sides of it. Working in financial services, but then putting the technology spin on it. And then also beyond that, my interest has allowed me to explore the world of trading, simulating trades for different assets, gold, foreign exchange, indices in a simulated environment, just to get a feel for what that looks like. But then also from an academic standpoint, I've taken the plunge and completed a degree in economic statistics. Then I did a postgraduate diploma in fixed income derivatives, and then completed two master's degrees, one of them in investment management and the other in real estate investment and finance. And then getting to apply that on a day-to-day basis in servicing some of the top asset managers and asset owners, pension funds globally. So it's full-fledged for me, but it genuinely stems from my initial interest in becoming financially literate. And I think one of the concerning things for me coming out of this, as we go through this crisis, is that I see what's happening from a health standpoint. I see what's happening, what measures have to be implemented in order for us to contain the virus from the economic slowdown that I mentioned. And then I see the government's response in terms of the various stimulus packages that they've implemented in order to ensure that there is a softening as best as they can. But I am genuinely concerned that the majority of us do not have an appreciation for what that means and how it impacts our lives going forward. And I can give you a simple example of that. A simple example of that is in Europe and the Americas. We've always knew, at least over the past few years, that we were trending towards a situation where we were going to have very low interest rates, i.e. zero interest rates for any government borrowing. We've seen this played out in Japan for a number of years, where the Japanese economy has always been set up has been set up for the past few years to operate in that kind of environment. And we saw this happening in Europe, but I think what's happened with the health crisis, it's accelerated that. So we see various governments, so in the EU, UK, US, have reduced interest rates to get us closer to zero. That in itself has massive implications, right? It does mean something. And basically, to wrap it, what that scenario means is one of the outcomes there is that the government no longer has in its money in its toolkit the lever of interest rate to stimulate the environment, right? Stimulate the economy. It will then we're tricking towards a a world where, in order to stimulate the economy, the government will have to issue a lot of debt. So it will be a lot of infrastructure spending. So to simplify, our children and our children's children will be coming into a world where the debt per capita will be much higher, because the government will have to issue a whole lot of debt, albeit the government will say at cheaper interest rates, but they will have to issue a lot of debt to stimulate the economy and to generate the levels of economic growth that will be needed to keep us going. But again, the point is, all of this is playing out from an economic standpoint. I'm betting that there is not a lot of appreciation for the economic side of it, because a lot of us have never been financially trained. We're not financially literate, and if we are, we're self-taught. So I'm just using the book to share my journey around how we get here, but also put forward a case for how we should better handle that across different national, states globally, really, to see whether or not we can put forward a case that we should have financial education in our national curriculums.
Okay. Sounds good. And it sounds like a great place to leave it. So we're looking forward to talking to you in the summer and looking forward to hearing an update, if not not having the actual book at that time. So thank you again,
Indeed.
Oliver. And
yes, thank
stay
you.
safe and
thank
keep safe. Okay.
And same to you, same to everyone globally. Please stay safe. This health crisis is real. Please take care of yourself, take care of your families, and hopefully we get to speak in a few months again.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you are inspired. You can find more helpful and motivational material at globalinsidersgroup.com. That is, insiders with an S. You can also keep in touch at Global Insiders on Instagram. See you next time, but remember, you can be your own superhero. Bye.